Awesome. And so now I would like to introduce our young alumni speaker tonight, Caitlyn Jillson. Caitlyn graduated from SNHU in 2018 with her bachelor's in business admin and again in 2020 with her MBA. During her tenure, Caitlyn was heavily involved in campus sustainability efforts, and I had the privilege of working with her in the creation and development of a cross-departmental sustainability strategic plan for the university. We are so excited to welcome you, Caitlyn, and it's so excited to learn from you tonight. So I'm going to throw it over to you, and you can kick us off.
Well, thank you. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity and to connect with all of you and just share a little bit about sustainability and what SNU has done in the past and some hopefully inspiration you guys are looking to get around sustainability. So let me share this PowerPoint. Alrighty, so happy Earth Day, everyone. And again, thank you so much for having me and attending tonight. I wanted to kind of let the open the floor to you and get the kind of creative juices flowing and ask what sustainability and Earth Day really means to you. We kind of already did that in our intro, you know, what you're trying to learn tonight, but just a word or two. I'd love to hear what it means to everyone and just look back on that later. So if you want to go ahead and do that, Allie will monitor the chat for me, like she said, but anything that relates to those topics in your mind. So what really is Earth Day? You know, it was this great movement started in 1970 that really took off and went global in 1990. And it's now organized by EarthDay.org. They're kind of this huge coordinator of all these events and resources and information that you can turn to. And they focus on the annual celebration of Earth Day. You know, every year, April 22nd, over 190 different countries around the world celebrate this. And it really sparks up some activism and awareness around different environmental topics. And I want you to kind of look at this Earth word cloud over here and see those different topics. You know, renewable energy, planting trees, responsible fishing. There's so many different topics that we can think about when it comes to Earth Day that might be relative to you. Even just recycling, you know, those are the main topics that kind of get our juices flowing when we think about it. And there's tons of different problems as well, but when we're celebrating Earth Day, we really want to focus on the good that we can do instead of focus on the bad. And that's where the activism part kind of sparks from this. So taking action and just being aware and educating yourself and others to really be conservative when it comes to the planet and do good by it.
Words that came up were living in balance with the earth, protecting resources for the future, nature, renewable resources, conservation, and rebuilding forests.
I love it. Awesome. Those are super awesome. I'm sure, you know, you've probably seen a couple over here too, but there's so many different avenues of Earth Day, as well as sustainability, which kind of goes right hand in hand with Earth Day. It's a huge topic. And, you know, what is sustainability? Can we define it? And like someone mentioned in the chat already, you know, it's meeting our own needs without compromising the needs of future generations. And what does that really look like? Does it look like conserving natural resources, leaving minimal impact on the planet, and also this topic of justice and environmental injustice? And the real definition of that is, you know, knowingly doing good for the planet and continuing that instead of knowingly doing bad and continuing that. You know, we don't want to do wrong by our planet. It's the only one we have. So, you know, we have to treat it fairly. In addition to natural resources and conserving those, but we also need social and economic resources. So a sustainable world really has three different elements: an environmental element, which is the planet; society, which are the people; and the economy, which is the profit. You know, is this profitable to live this way? We have to make sure that works in balance as well. And that sort of brings me back to another kind of threefold approach visual I just wanted to throw out there. allows you to look at the people, the planet, and the profit, and how each of them overlapping can create some sort of environment. People and planet create a bearable environment. People and profit maybe create an equitable environment, and the planet and profit create a viable environment. But you need all three to create a sustainable environment. And it also breaks it down into that environmental, economic, and social different variables relating to those natural resources, you know, the people and the societies and community and education. There's so many different moving parts, but breaking it into these three areas kind of helps you to navigate through the different areas of sustainability a little bit better and understand how broad this really can be. So environmental sustainability, you know, what is this? This is the planet. We walk on it every day and we rely solely on it to give us the air we breathe, the sun we need to thrive on this planet. We need so much from this planet, and we take and take and take, but that's not sustainable for the future. So we kind of have to look inward on ourselves and say, are the way we're living sustainable? We have a responsibility to conserve the natural resources, right? And protect global ecosystems for future use, not only to support the health and well-being of right now, but again, in the future, for those future generations. And the focus on the planet is kind of the largest element of sustainability, because we rely on it so heavily to move the other two pieces of the social and the economic piece of sustainability.
One person just mentioned that they appreciate the like there's no planet B phrase, expression rather. And yeah, I totally hear that sentiment.
Yeah, I mean, I did sneak in, we have one planet, right? But you know, it's how you define sustainability. Everybody has a different look on it, and I'm just here to present different kind of information, and you know, not get you to join a big movement. Don't worry. But yeah, we need a healthy planet now and in the future, in the just of environmental sustainability. Social sustainability. So this is kind of the most broad and undefined area of sustainability. It really combines the physical realm with the design of the social world, and looking at our society and if we have the infrastructure to support a healthy growth in society and healthy interactions between humans, public areas, etc. So I really love this graphic over here to the right. It is a really innovative approach on how to look at social sustainability, and it really focuses in on trust. And I like to kind of look at the last year, and social sustainability is really a huge, you know, balance, combining the physical and the social. And we were kind of out of balance in the last year. We had a global pandemic, we had an election year, we had so many different social aspects to handle. So this graphic really emphasizing on trust, I think, helps define what social sustainability is. And it's preserving human rights, you know, protecting our health and safety and well-being, increasing access to social good, and making sure that everyone has accessibility to these resources, and the resources are there and built into the infrastructure for our society, to enhance societal economic prosperity. And we have to have trust in the system that they're going to provide that for us. And it sounds simple, but it really is an innovative approach, because that trust element is the largest piece that we need. And you know, it's huge, the social element. Having that infrastructure to support social and cultural life is really social sustainability, supporting the people. Economic sustainability, this is the profit piece of the three Ps, the people, planet, profit. Economic sustainability is, you know, sustaining human life and materials. I like to look at that. It's supporting a healthy economy. So making sure, again, we have that infrastructure for a healthy society, kind of goes hand in hand with a infrastructure for an economy. You know, we have access to public health and wellness, but do we have access to jobs? You know, what does our economy look like in terms of health? And is the route we're taking going to sustain us in the future? So I love this also graphic on the right, looking at it as the economy is kind of the central focus. It does not define us. It is not the largest piece of our world, but it is the central piece. If we have a great economy, we can have a great society looking outside of that. When we have a great society, we can respect nature and have an even better environment, which we do live in. We should ensure we're looking inside, that we're a piece of the environment, not the environment needs to give to us, because we do take so much. But economic sustainability is really an integral part of sustainability in general. And again, it's really focused on the human and material pieces, creating sustainable values for optimal use and ensuring that future generations are going to have trees and air to breathe.
Just want to make 2 points from the chat. Folks, never thought about about sustainability in regards to our economy. Super important, and it's often overlooked when discussing sustainability. So definitely some great points.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely agree. How can I practice sustainability? So this is a huge question. I know I just threw probably a lot of information at you in regard to, whoa, sustainability is this way broader topic than I even thought it was, looking at those 3 different areas. But it allows you to maybe just focus on one area. How can I practice sustainability? And we'll just simplify that in the next few slides for you guys. Always throw out suggestions. Allie's monitoring the chat, so I love that, and stop me at any time. So, reduce, reuse, repurpose, and recycle. We've added an R, I'm sure. I always grew up, reduce, reuse, recycle, but over the years we added on repurpose. And I threw a couple of great pictures from some SNU memories up there. It's a tale as old as time, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle. We heard it all growing up. I'm sure it's not new, and it works. That's why it's been around for so long. Reduce your consumption of bad products, reduce water waste, reduce food waste, reduce all your energy use. I have a ton of lights on, but it's dark outside, and I live in New England and it gets dark, so I have to have my lights on. But reducing the overuse of resources. Reuse, reusing materials and reusing clothing, repurposing containers. Like you can see, we had an awesome student project. These students worked tirelessly collecting water bottles of all sizes, and on Earth Day in 2019, they sat in the student center and cut these water bottles in half and let people plant seeds, and it was awesome. They got to kind of engage people in a repurposing project and allowed them to grow basil and rosemary in their dorm rooms. And recycling, just making sure your trash is going somewhere that it's being properly processed is super important. At SNHU, they added 35 of these blue trash cans in 2019 all around campus. And we zip tied those awesome recycling signs on them to help encourage people to make the right choice of taking the extra step. You're already throwing it in a bin. Why not throw it in the right bin, And the SNU Rain Garden was another student project I love to point out. That was in 2014, I want to say, blooming out of a student research project. And Mike Weinstein can tell you a little bit more about that if anybody knows him. He's awesome. And LEED, that is a certification for buildings, and SNU has quite a few of these LEED certified buildings on campus. There's different levels. They have a few of them, so it's super awesome that in the last few years they've really created a focus on the environment in their capital projects area, which is great because they're trying to reduce their consumption in all areas. So those are some awesome SNU project examples that I thought I should throw out there.
A few things from the chat. The repurposing, I think, is a new theme and a new mix to what we've normally heard as the saying. So I think that's great, adding that in. a lot of people don't realize the impact of just recycling or reusing many household items that in turn helps the environment as well as their homes. One person said we're retrofitting all of our LED, retrofitting all of our warehouses with energy efficient LEDs, reducing consumption and cost significantly. Some person says that they burned their cardboard and bonfires. The picture in 2018, the picture says 2018. Is that certificate still valid? I think in reference to to the LEED certification, which I think it is.
So,
I think. Go
yes,
ahead.
once they get it, all of the buildings were certified for the building design and construction. You can have a LEED running building, which is like all the lights and fixtures and everything. This is just the building design and construction. So the initial plans, all the construction, making sure the wood was recycled, the materials and hazardous waste was recycled properly, that type of thing. So these stand, and they will stand forever because it's the building design and construction.
Cool. Thanks for clarifying. And recycling can be so sneaky, not enough education on what people can recycle. So people, a lot of times just throw everything in there.
Yeah. And it's really hard. There's a lot of mixed information, especially depending on what carrier you're recycling with. So SNHU uses Casella, and they were a zero sort recycling bin. So they would take cardboard, cans, metal, plastic, everything in one. And it was really unique, and I'm going to kind of praise them because I was able to go to their facility, and the way they sort recycling is incredible. They sort it with air by weight, and it goes up on this conveyor belt, and they'll blow the recycling into different chutes based on their weight. So, and they'll package it up, and they have recycling. I can't think of the word, but different facilities where they send and properly recycle all the different plastics by their different numbers, polypropylene. We won't get into that, but your plastics have numbers, and that's how they recycle them. So depending on your carrier, recycling can be really complicated and really daunting. So I praise you if you even are recycling, because although it is really effortless, it's a different bin. If you're doing it right, you're rinsing it out and making an effort, and that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely check with your recycling. I live in Salem, Mass, and I know we have tons of flyers and information that comes to our houses pretty often. It's on our recycling cans for the city as well. So definitely check it out too if you're super invested in the recycling game.
Yes. Personal consumption, so kind of still focusing on ourselves and how we can be sustainable in these different areas. It's really kind of waste, water, and energy. I'm going to ask you guys a question, and I hope you guys are not close to getting the answer, which sounds bad, but on average, how much food waste do you think the United States provides? In an average year, how much food waste in pounds, regular old pounds?
I'll let you know what some guesses are. 1
Yes,
billion,
please.
50 pounds per person, 56,000, over 3 trillion, 100 million, 250,000 tons. Variety of guesses. This is awesome.
Okay. Well, I will highlight the picture on the left. We had an awesome compost pilot program, another student-led program that piloted in 2019 as well, and that was in apartments. And the students would actually take out their compost and dump it into this big old smelly bucket. And college kids doing that is pretty awesome, let me tell you. So the answer is 72 billion pounds of food waste, perfectly good food going to waste every year. It's not being composted. It is ending up in our landfills and just kind of rotting and not doing anything good for the earth. So it's pretty upsetting. And this comes from, maybe we bought too many groceries at the store and we didn't eat. And, my kid doesn't eat brown bananas, so they're going to waste, and it's hard to compost if I live in a condominium. I don't have a big old yard I could be tossing food scraps in. But luckily near me, there is a program that delivers a bin for you, and you buy the bags from them and you fill up, and they come and pick it up every week. It is a cost on top of it, but you're being more sustainable consciously. So sometimes it's great to look in those kinds of local areas and see what you have for programs near you. And planning ahead. It's always good to plan out your meals for the week. It sounds simple, but once you know you get out of routine, you just buy too much and you waste 3 onions because you already had onions. But planning ahead. Water, I'll ask again, how much average household use, and I will give it so per week and per day per person. I guess you could guess whatever you feel. I won't pressure you.
So say it one more time. This is per.
So how much water waste per person? You could say per day.
Okay. All right. So 5 pounds of water per day is first guess. 25 pounds, over 30 gallons, 10 gallons a day.
Whoever said 30 gallons got it.
Oh,
it's
good
around
job,
30
Tony.
Gallons a day. Good job. Yeah.
Ashley's
it's around
pretty
30
close.
gallons per day. And the average household actually loses around 180 gallons a year from common household leaks. So that says a lot. If your faucets are out of date, if you're leaving, the faucet on when you're brushing your teeth, things that you really should not be. If your shower head is, the flow, low flow, high flow, you can get different flows to be a little bit more sustainable at home. Use less water. Same with your toilet. There's a great saying: if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. Sounds crazy, but sometimes to be sustainable, you can make sacrifices.
And just a clarifying question, Caitlin, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, I lost it. Oh my gosh. What is the definition of water waste from somebody?
So water waste, it can kind of be looked at in different areas. So water waste in the sense of, are you being wasteful? You're taking 30-minute showers and leaving, the water running while you're brushing your teeth, and you walk away to throw something in the dryer and forget the faucet's on. That's being wasteful. And there's water waste in the sense of, I have a leaky faucet that I'm conscious about, but not aware that I'm wasting 180 gallons of water a year because of it. So there's kind of those two areas, like purposeful waste and unknowing waste, if that helps.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
And then energy. The average kind of household bill of energy is takes up around 55% of their energy use. It's just the heating and cooling of their house. And depending on where you guys are calling in from, I know I saw a couple people in New Hampshire, one in Seattle, Washington. So there's different climates all over. And it's hard. It's a hard battle with that. But using the natural temperatures outside as best you can is really helpful. And whoever burns cardboard, go sit out by the fire to get warm for a while. Turn the thermostat down or off when you're not at home. Just if you're not home, why does your apartment need to be 68 degrees? You can set it to click back on right before you come home and it'll be good. And vampire power. So these are things that are plugged in that you don't think are sucking power. So leaving your phone charger plugged in all the time, probably not really a good idea, because it is feeding your phone charger power, but your phone charger is not plugged into your phone, so it's going nowhere. So we call it vampire power. It's you think it's sleeping, it's really not. It's sucking up the power. Computer chargers, any kind of different chargers, and leaving things in when they are fully charged, just unplug it. It's not going to hurt anything. It's actually worse to leave something plugged in fully charged than unplug it. And light bulbs. I was so glad to hear somebody's upgrading to LEDs. That's awesome. Your whole warehouse. And that is cost saving. So a lot of these solutions actually help save you money, being sustainable, which makes that economic part of sustainability a little bit easier. So getting those old CFL lights out of there and upgrading to the LEDs is really great. It helps with cost savings. It's using a little bit less power. They're, sometimes brighter. It's great. Win-win-win all around.
One question before we go to the next slide. Would turning on the dishwasher half full be considered a water waste?
Depends on your dishwasher. So I have another little snippet later about, Energy Star appliances. Every dishwasher is different. They are huge water suckers. It's like your washing machine. It's unfortunately one of those wasteful areas that we kind of need in our daily life. So I don't want to say turning it on half full and, running a light cycle is the worst thing in the world, because we're all guilty of it. But doing that every single day, probably not the best. It's just getting into best practices of, hey, I'm just going to change a little bit about this behavior and see if the impact is better on my, water bill and my sustainable lifestyle. So it's just things like that to think about. You could have a great dishwasher that doesn't use a lot of water. So.
And one more question, sorry. So for smart plugs specifically, even though they're useful in turning lights off, are they still considered vampire power?
That I do not know. I do not have any smart plugs or Alexa smart devices. I work in the technology area, and I don't have a lot of technology other than my phone and laptop. I have to be honest. The TVs, that's it. So you'll have to look that up. I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for that one. All right, individual action. So this kind of focuses on, what can I do in the community? Voting, being aware of what's going on in your community in regard to, different zoning projects for the year. Are they chopping down a bunch of trees on my reservation land? I grew up around a ton of conservation areas. I live really close to the coast and the beach, so I have a ton of reservations, and there's little piping plover birds that take up miles of this beach that is closed all year round just for them. And so just really being aware of what's going on in my community. Can I have a say in it? And can I demand changes? As a consumer, you can shop smart. This is, more than just remembering to bring your grocery bag in. This is kind of avoiding those fast fashion, relying on, oh, I'll just order it online really quick and it will get to me. Think about it. Can I fix it? Do I really need to buy a new one? Is it worth it to fix it? If I buy one good quality product, will that outlast buying 4 kind of crappy fast products? Probably. So being a smart consumer and making those decisions in your own head is really going to help you. And then yourself, start a movement, be involved. I had a student at SNHU when I was working on sustainability there. She started a coffee and campus cleanup. And every morning when she came into work at 9 a.m., we would go to a different area of campus and we would pick up trash, and it's doing something like that, even if it's taking your daily walk at lunch and bring a market basket bag with you and pick up little pieces of trash along the way. Wear a glove if you want, be safe. But little things like that you can do make a difference, because it takes a lot of individual action to collectively make a difference. And being involved, like I said, in your community, just being educated, that's being involved, is educating yourself and just knowing what's going on in the world, because there's a lot. And that's an awesome picture of a girl and me at a climate strike in 2019. In downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. It was awesome. The environmental club went, and a bunch of SNU professors and SNU students. It was great. I don't want to move on too much. I keep looking at you. Sustainable work from home. So 2020 has been quite the year. I don't know about you, but I've been working from home since March 5th, maybe, last year. I've never gone into my new office, well, one time to pick up my computer, but I don't have an employee ID badge, so it's been a crazy year. And especially being sustainable, working from home, we're not commuting, but maybe some of us are guilty of going to get a coffee every morning because that's part of our routine. Maybe cutting that out would be a little bit, more sustainable. Eating locally and seasonally, I don't know about anybody else. I think we can all relate. We're probably eating a lot more at home. The fridge is within walking distance. We're not living out of our lunchbox anymore. So, we have snacks. It was Girl Scout cookie season, but eating locally and seasonally, Girl Scout cookies seasonally, that's sustainable. You're not traveling as far to get your produce. You're kind of shopping around the markets and supporting local businesses through the pandemic. Not only that, you're helping them, but being sustainable yourself as well. Powering down and unplugging. When you say goodnight to work, you should really say goodnight to work. You should shut off your laptop, shut off your printer, unplug it from the wall if you want to, and say goodnight. Leave work at work, walk away. It's good for your mental health. That's very sustainable as well. And it's good for sustainably working from home. Setting up your office in an area with a lot of natural light helps you use less lighting during the day and therefore less power. And you're kind of reducing your, electric bill, but also relying on the sun. Some days it's cloudy if you live in New England like us. Or snowing, raining, and sunny all in 35 minutes. So relying on natural light can be difficult, but that is helpful when setting up a home office. And ditching your printer, it's 2021. We can send PDFs through email now. You can sign everything online. Tablets are cheaper than printers because you don't have to buy the toner and the paper. You're, consciously a little bit better. But ditch the printers and then avoid the urge to Amazon. I'm sure we're all guilty of this. We had to rely on Amazon a little bit through the pandemic, whether it be ordering a desk to work from home, ordering a monitor, something. But when you do break it down and think about it, when you're working from home, it's so easy to rely on Amazon to deliver anything we need from groceries to new sneakers. But they're using gas to get around and airplanes to deliver that and energy and resources and polluting along the way. So it's really, limit your usage, buy in bulk. You can also apply different settings to your Amazon order that limit the amount of plastic packaging they use, and they'll use paper instead, which is great because you cannot recycle a lot of that plastic packaging. And though it's easy, we love Amazon and they're working on their own sustainability goals. Think about how the product is getting to you a little bit.
Yeah, folks are just mentioning options of CSAs. Some stores like Starbucks will take your reusable cups and fill them for your drinks. Power down and unplug, good advice for us to take personally. Definitely feel like we're working more from home.
Right, and it's hard. You don't want to detach, but if you get in a little, even, 2 nights a week where you can really just walk away.
And just talking about the supply chain for everything, imports specifically, and how we're using energy.
Yeah. Household sustainable swaps, kind of just going off this. I know you guys have so many amazing, talking about the imports and everything. There's so many different things we can talk about in regards to sustainability, the environment, and what's going on in the world. We're keeping it super simple, and we're just going to now kind of look at some swaps that seem really simple, but to do them every day it can be commitment. So Ziploc bags and tinfoil, I kind of have pictured, I actually have mine too, but I have this bees wrap, and I've had this for about 5 years, this one piece. I use it every single week. I wrap my sandwiches in it. I wrap it around Tupperware or bowls, things like that, but it works just the same as tinfoil. You can put pretty much everything in it. I haven't stained it yet in the last 5 years, so pretty good quality to me. And Ziploc bags, I have these awesome little stasher bags. They come in different sizes. They make so many different brands of these. You can get them even at the grocery store now, I know. But they can go in the oven. Try to look for, there's some harmful plastics, so you don't really want to be in your Ziplocs anyway. So be conscious of that, but they're great products to look at. and they eventually save you money because you're not buying them at the grocery store so much. Paper towels, Allie can probably attest to this. She uses Unpaper Towel by Marley's Monsters. They're a great website to look into for looking at some reusable options, but that is an option. And single-use plastics, you know, it's really not hard to stop using the single-use plastic. Like someone mentioned in the chat already, you can bring your reusable cups. I know with COVID, it was really hard to even bring your reusable bags to grocery stores. Some stores in Massachusetts, you still can't. In my town, some you can. So I would definitely look into that place to place. But if you can use a reusable option, that's always great. And just saying no to single-use plastics is a great behavior change in general. You know, if they ask for a straw, do you really need a straw? You know, I can totally understand some people rely on straws, you know, for their intake of liquid and food even. So I totally get that. But if you can say no, you should. Light bulbs, we kind of already talked about, you know, switching them over in shower heads, those low flow, using less water, cutting back and conserving a little bit. Clothing, kind of looking, like I mentioned earlier, fast fashion. So where is my clothing coming from? Is it coming from this mass-produced factory all the way across the country and being sent on an airplane, a train, a ship, a bus, all the way to get here, using all these resources and being made out of kind of harmful, cheap materials? Or is it made, you know, sustainably through a good brand? Things like that are worth looking into, and usually investing in good clothing lasts you longer and you don't have to buy as much or as frequently. And then produce source. I love that someone else mentioned a CSA. I was speaking earlier to Allie, my cousin, you know, she has a beautiful farm where I live and has this great corporate, oh my gosh, not corporate, geez, community shared agriculture program. That's what CSA stands for. And it's a great way to get your produce and support local sources and farms near you, and eat really good food. So always great to look into what you kind of have going around near you.
And I just want to be mindful of time. We're coming up on 8:45, but don't want you to rush. Okay. And also, folks, we are recording this. It will be on our website. And so if you do have other obligations, don't feel like you need to stay on, but you're more than welcome to continue the conversation with us.
I'll be quick. We have like just one more.
It's okay. Don't rush. It's good content.
And kind of just personal sustainable favorites of mine. In my area, there's a local brewery ran entirely off wind power, which I think is awesome. So if you're ever in the northern Mass area, it's called Riverwalk Brewing in Newburyport, Massachusetts. It's great. They have great selection. It's a really cool building. You should definitely check it out. Planet-focused movies. If you're kind of looking to learn a little bit more and maybe educate your family too, I have a family movie night in. I've had a ton of those the last year. Seaspiracy is a really great movie about the ocean before the flood. If you love Leonardo DiCaprio, you'll probably love that movie. The Story of Stuff is a 20-minute movie, but it's kind of all about that consumption cycle that someone mentioned in the chat earlier. And Food Inc. Is a little bit, I'll give an advisory before that movie. If you don't really want to know where your food comes from, I would not watch it. It has a lot of interesting content that some people might not want to see. So that's my advisory notice to you on that. And sustainable brands. I might butcher this name, but I would say Pillowcase. They're a compostable phone case brand. I don't have it on my phone currently. I would show you. I'm sorry about that. And Unpaper Towel was the one that Allie mentioned she uses at home. Stasher bag, the little Ziplocs I showed you. And Levi's for clothing brand. They have great sustainability programs in place for using less water, take back programs for their clothing. Same with Patagonia. They do great take back programs to help keep their kind of consumer cycle, tighten it. And then blogs and websites, you know, Zero Waste Home, how you can make little changes in your own home to reduce waste and be more conscious of the lifestyle you're living. and learning more. So these are just a bunch of resources I threw up here for all the different kind of topics we talked about today, from appliances at home, Earth Day, what the EPA is doing, different shopping sites. Allie gave an awesome 100 ways to be more sustainable site on there. And definitely look at your town and city governance pages or community bulletin boards. People post things all the time on there about their, you know, CSA programs, or support the local bee farmers as well. You know, they post things all the time, so it's worth looking inward and seeing what your town or city is currently doing to see what you can get involved in. And that is all I have for you guys. So I know I threw a lot at you. If you have any questions, let me know. And thanks for kind of sticking around this long. I really appreciate it.
I do have a few questions from the early beginning part of our session. I'll see if any others come through in terms of what folks were hoping to learn or questions that they had. One was specifically around, the best plants for attracting bees, if you have any suggestions or websites or something that this person can look into.
Okay, yes. Well, there are a ton of pollinator-friendly plants. It depends on your local area, probably what's going to do best. I don't know off the top of my head the names of plants. Honestly, I'm terrible with that. I know these are chives. I've been growing them in water. That's about it. I'm sorry. But I would definitely look it up, say pollinator-friendly plants. If you have local greenhouses and are able to speak to someone there, they will probably know, but I, off the top of my head, do not have an answer. I apologize for that.
It's all good. Pollinator Pathways was also just mentioned in the chat. Definitely looking at invasive species versus natural attractants in your communities as well.
Yes. And your town and community page will definitely, if they have a kind of environment focused area, will probably have a list of things they do not want you to plant. I know my town does. They're pretty strict on that.
We are too.
Not put in the ground.
Local beekeepers definitely would be a resource as well. Another question was about rain barrel collection and how to use that for watering landscape.
Okay, so I know every state is different. Some states it's illegal to actually collect water for that purpose and collect rainwater in general. So I would check on that. It's mainly states that have droughts and certain restrictions on water and things like that. I don't have personal experience, but I could turn you to Mike Weinstein. He's a great SNU resource who actually has experience with rain barrel collection in our SNHU Arboretum. So Allie, if you want to type his name in the chat or something, but he's an awesome resource. It's like Weinstein. I have that memorized because that always trips me up, the I and the E.
Right. Yeah, and someone just mentioned too that some local utilities will give you a credit for getting a rain barrel. So definitely check with your local companies and your government. Yep. I think that is like the best resource in terms of finding out very specific information of what's acceptable or not.
And providers, like each of your providers are different too. So definitely they would know best.
Awesome. Any other questions that folks have? Feel free to unmute yourself or put a question in the chat before we wrap up.
Thank you so much. This is awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
And Mike Weinstein was the name that Caitlin mentioned. I'm just trying to find his email super quickly.
I think he's just m.weinstein.
I think so too.
What the good old Outlook.
Can you suggest any like ways that someone who's part of SNHU could get involved with SNHU regarding sustainability?
Yeah, definitely. I have another contact for you. So SNHU has a lot of internal I mean, we're all affiliated with SNHU, so we know they're kind of ever changing and they always have so much going on. So as for internal sustainability resources, there is a green team that kind of started at the mill yard, and that was Mike Atkinson. So I know he's a really great resource to turn to in terms of getting involved on campus. And there is a kind of committee built up of faculty and staff and students, the sustainability working group, and Michelle Goldsmith is a really great resource for that. She also leads kind of all of the environmental aspects on campus, the environmental department, environmental club. She's just a super great resource for that. You know, she was kind of that focused member on environmental when it comes to SNOO stuff. She really got a lot going there. So Michelle Goldsmith, Mike Atkinson in regard to kind of the Mill Green team. But those are two really great resources. And Mike Weinstein, definitely.
Thank you.
And he is M. Weinstein at snhu.edu.
Yeah, I just found it and put it in the chat. Any other questions before we wrap up? But just want to say thank you to everyone for being here tonight. Thanks for going a few minutes over. We think this content is super interesting and informative, and want to just say thank you again to Caitlin for sharing your knowledge and expertise in this area with us. This was a super informative session even for me, and I feel like I know some stuff, but right, like just
you can always learn more. Yeah,
exactly. And so just want to mention, if anybody here is interested in getting involved in any ways, I invite you to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat if there are events that you are interested in putting on with us, issue areas that you're passionate about and you want us to talk a little bit more about them. We're always looking for young alumni programs and leaders. And so I invite you to think about that and reach out if that's an interest area of yours. And just also want to mention, we are finishing up Global Days of Service in May. And so we do have a lot of opportunities for you to engage with us, volunteer, that are happening now through the end of May. And so Caitlin, again, thank you so much for your time and your energy on this topic. And thank you for everyone for being here tonight.
Thanks, everyone. And feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or anything if you want to connect.
Thank you.
Have a great night.